Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, viewers out there. It's another Sunday evening and another episode of BasketBros. I am your moderator, the Basket Brother. I got a new name every week. Y'all just gonna have to bear with me and keep up when you do. I'm Denzel Snipes, aka Jay Nelson, and we have a jam-packed show with with some great topics. So we're going to be starting two signature topics this evening. We're going to be starting the Basket Bros What If. That's going to be taking basically a situation in time. We're going to a bit of a time capsule here, okay? And we're going to alter a situation and say, what if this didn't happen? Or what if this did happen? And expand on details on what we think would have turned out. And we're trying that out. And then also we're going to be covering our first Basket Bros legend. That's going to be Oscar Robertson. And, of course, we've got two more awesome topics for you. We're going to go back in the day and look at a particular video game that I know was a favorite to some of us old dogs out there. But before we get into that, let's get the crew in here. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way live from Atlanta, GA, the Pundit's Pundit, co-host of the Pundit's Pundit and Basket Brother, Jacob Christner, get in here.
Oh, there's nothing like hearing you clear your throat to get a show started. I'm telling you right now.
Hey, man, sometimes I got a lot to say in the intro. And then let's also get the other one in here, all the way from the other sea town, Charlotte, North Carolina, from the Cackalack. Give it up, Will Bogle. Come on in here.
What's up, guys? What's up?
How's it going?
Right. So you feeling better now, man? You 100%?
100% better.
Sweet, man. I see you got the beard coming in, man. Let it grow out a little bit more.
Just a little bit. May shave it in a few days, but may grow out a little bit.
It'll take about 2 more months.
About 2.
Yeah.
Right now he's kind of got he's got the Razor Ramon 5 o'clock shadow going.
Yeah, I joke around telling people when I grow out a little more, I say I'm Kevin Love's brother, but let's just say that.
Hey, that's actually a fair assessment. Someone might believe it one day.
That. Who knows?
I know, right? And then last but not least, let's get the fourth basket brother in here from the mean streets of Livonia, Michigan. Give it up for Detroit Dom DeRubius. Get in here.
Yo, what up?
How you living? How's your Sunday, man?
I'm hungover. Thanks for asking.
We love a truthful individual.
Yes, we do.
Hey, show the public the throwback, man. What's the throwback this week?
Vincent Edwards Jackson. You may know him as Bo.
The greatest two-sport athlete to have ever lived. A flat-out legend.
100%.
And just imagine if he had the time and played basketball, how he could have been. Hey, remember that cartoon from back in the day called Pro Stars and Bo Jackson was on it?
Yes.
And it was like Wayne Gretzky and who was the other one? Michael Jordan. It was Michael Jordan.
Yep.
No, Bo. I mean, Wayne Gretzky kind of looked like a female soccer star of like 2022.
Yeah, he did. It was. You know what? I actually I thought that was a great show. Like they were just using their sports abilities and equipment to like fight crime. Like it's such a. Like, it's funny how nowadays it'd be corny, but back then it's like, oh, shoot, they crossing fighting crime and sports. Like, this is going to be amazing. And Wayne Gretzky was shooting hockey pucks in the bad guys and stuff, man. It was crazy. But getting on with the show, we're going to get on with our first topic. And our first topic, we're going to be covering our first Basket Bros Legend review, and that is going to be on Oscar Robertson as soon as the comes up. There we go. Okay, Oscar Robertson. Now, you're talking about a man, in my humble opinion, who revolutionized the game. This man did what he did, and the three-point shot never existed at any time that he played. But before I pass it on to you all, let's run down a list of his career accomplishments, which are more than 2. He was an NBA champion in 1971 with Milwaukee. That was the combination of him and Lou Alcindor. Then he was NBA Most Valuable Player in 1964, 12-time NBA All-Star, 3-time NBA All-Star Game Most Valuable Player, 9-time All-NBA First Team, 2-time All-NBA Second Team, NBA Rookie of the Year, 1961. All-NBA All-Anniversary Team. He made 3 of these teams, the 35th, the 50th, and the most recent 75th. Sacramento Kings, number 14, retired. Milwaukee Bucks, number 1, retired. In college, 3-time consensus All-American First Team, 3-time NCAA scoring leader, college basketball and pro basketball Hall of Fame. All told, in his pro career, he had 26,710 points. That's good for 25.7 points per game. Remember, no three-point shot. 7,804 rebounds. That's good for 7.5 rebounds per game. 9,887 assists per. That's good for 9.5 assists per game. He's regarded as the first big guard at 6'5" tall, paving the way for guys like Magic, who was 6'9". And he's one of only two players in NBA history, the other being Nate Archibald, to lead the league in the same season in scoring and assists. So, passing it on to you, Jacob. Thoughts about this man?
I want you to remember this part also. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. This is 13 seasons with the 26,000 points. Just to understand this for 1 second. Another thing to think about with all that is the 13 seasons has 26,000 points, and he only played 2 years with 80 games. Never played a full season.
Wow.
Never played a full season. And he still had all those stats. He still had you got to realize just how dominant this guy was. It's like I've said this to you that Magic's one of the greatest because he brought in the current point guards we see today and the current size that we see.
Right.
Oscar Robertson was. See, I always will put Bob Cousy as a first as far as getting the flash. But Oscar Robertson was the first all around as far as shooter, as far as rebounder, as far as all that. He brought all of that in. And then there wasn't anybody for years that really go all over the place. Then guess what? Tiny Archibald.
Right.
Tiny Archibald. I mean, Nate Archibald, you brought that up. There wasn't anything for you. That's so rare. It's almost every 10 years when they show up like that until now, where everybody does. So Oscar's a beast.
Absolutely. Dom, your thoughts on this man?
He's basically a more efficient version of what Russell Westbrook wishes that he was. Like I was trying to get to Westbrook's career stats overall. I want to say Westbrook. Now I got to look real quick. So 25.5, almost 26, 7.5, 9.5. Where do we think Westbrook's at? I know one place we know he can't touch him. Field goal percentage. Robertson shot like 48, almost 49% for his career. Oh, wow. I am a little bit surprised. Russ for his career is 18.5, 7 and 7 on 44% shooting. That's actually better than I thought. Yeah, he's pretty much on everyone's list of top 3-point guards of all time. A lot of older players have him at the top. I would tend to agree. I think Magic's better, but like both of you said, he set the bar for guards that could do it all. I mean, what else can you say about him? He's the big O, and I'm not talking about Roy Orbison. What you got?
You were talking something else.
What more can you say about this guy that you guys haven't touched already? This guy is second all time in triple doubles. Russell Westbrook passed him. I've got something controversial to say, but I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to tell the guys after the show what I think about Westbrook and his triple doubles. If you guys want me to say it, I'll say it.
Just say it, man.
Say it on the show. What do we have a show for?
Westbrook's teammates let him get rebounds.
Okay.
You are 100% right.
You're right.
So you've been watching basketball his whole career, especially on the missed free throws when the whole team just clears out.
Yeah,
exactly. So in my eyes, the king of triple doubles is still Oscar Robertson.
Sure.
This guy also was a 9-time All-NBA first team, 6-time assist leader. This guy was just everything you want in a point guard. Passing, help get the rebounds, points. Like, he's Mr. Do-It-All. So, yeah, you guys already touched everything about him. And, yeah, I definitely have him in my top 3 point guards of all time. Like Dom said, people have them in his top 3. Their top 3. I also have them behind Magic. But, yeah.
And, you know, the stars that we see today, everyone's got a predecessor. You know what I mean? I feel Magic's successor was LeBron. LeBron just scores more. That's it. You know, and then you look at Russell Westbrook, and then you look at Jordan. Oscar was considered a great at his time, and then there was Jordan, and then there's a debate about LeBron. there's somebody that Jordan had to model off of was Oscar Robertson. We revere these players that are typically one-man teams. They just happen to have four other teammates, you know?
Yeah.
Oscar Robertson, you're talking about a rebound, one that can rebound, one that can facilitate, one that can score, you know? And the fact that he's doing all of this in an era where they didn't shoot any threes. It was before the merger, which is coming up here in a little bit that we'll talk about. And you know, you can only imagine the discussions back then in the 60s and 70s over who was the greatest. Because, I mean, you know, you had Bill and everything. And then
You had Wilt.
You had Wilt. You had Kareem, you know, back when he was Lou Alcindor. You had
Walt
this
Frazier.
guy. Walt Frazier. Yeah, and then this is awesome to think. It's awesome to think. You know you have an impact when you are 83 years old and people still bring you up on who is the greatest of what.
Yeah.
Because he's been long retired. He's been long retired.
I got another thing to say too. This is the thing. Let's link today back then to today.
Okay.
Talking about the free throw shooting of Embiid and of Harden. And by the way, I'm about to say something nice about Harden, believe it or not.
Oh,
and,
man. Held froze over.
Yeah, it's a miracle. But no, they keep bringing up about the free throw shooting. That's not going to be an issue for me with Harden because that is one thing he can do. Huge. Great free throw shooter. So is Embiid. But this is the thing. Listen to these. They bring it up. Oh, my God, they wouldn't win if they would have so many free throws. Listen to the first 8 years of Oscar Robertson per game. 9 out of 11. 9 out of 11. 8 out of 10. 10 out of 11. This is per season. Every game. 9 out of 11, 10 out of 12. 10 out of 12, 9 out of 11, and 9 out of 10. So these were every game. These were every single game. That's 8 years. And then it started to dip when he got injured. But this is he got older. Every single game. This is 1960 to 1974. This is the time where remember, these are the times when you got basically molested if you went into the paint.
Yes.
These are the times when you have this type of stuff and all that stuff. And then sometimes you didn't get a foul called on you. For you and to get a fine. Still that. You can't. This is the link. People want to keep linking this. Oh, the old days were better because you allowed to get fouls. That's fine. But they still had just as many free throws.
They did. And go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Those are the things you got to think about. Is people want to link. They want to say, but they're just doing YouTube and TikTok clips. You know, just like the now, whether you hate the old or love the old or hate the young, they're looking at all this and not getting the point of it.
Right.
It's like a lot of the stuff in the back then was the same as now. A lot of them is.
Mm-hmm. And you know, you run down those what he averaged a game in free throws. So we're talking about a man who not only could score, facilitate, and rebound, he can get to the line. He's not just getting to the charity stripe like 5 times a game. Over to every single year, he got to he averaged getting to the charity stripe 10 times, at least 10. You know, so you know, in a tougher era, and you brought it up, you know, you're going to get hack going in there, you know? So this is a man that's not afraid to drive the basketball. In the 1960s and 70s, where you might get a fist, you know? I mean, like, it's just nuts, man, you know? But moving on to the next topic here, and this is something that I was curious about discussing on this show. We had brought it up briefly in other topics of conversation in other episodes, but we'll go ahead and make this a full-on segment right now, and that is Jacob, I'm waiting for you on this one. The 1976 ABA-NBA merger. I'll keep it brief, and I'll start it off with Jacob. But with the 1976 ABA-NBA merger, this is what merged the American Basketball Association into the National Basketball Association to form the current NBA. But the NBA adopted the ABA's fast style of play,
Yeah.
The 3-point shot,
Yep.
the current slam dunk contest, and 4 ABA teams: the San Antonio Spurs, the Denver Nuggets, the New York Nets, who became New Jersey, who became Brooklyn, New York Nets again, and the Indiana Pacers. As a matter of fact, the 2003 NBA Finals featured the first time in NBA history that both participants were original members of the ABA, which San Antonio faced New Jersey. San Antonio won that series. But the only thing they didn't adopt, man, I wish they would bring this ball back and play it half the time. I mean, they could do it for 41 games. I want the red, white, and blue ball. That's the best ball of all time. I don't care what nobody got to say. That's the best ball of all time. But I'm going to pass it on to Jacob because he's chomping at the bit here. So give us your thoughts about the ABA-NBA merger.
Well, first off, just to let you know about that ball, the biggest thing about it is the fact that it was a very, 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 very slick ball. So it's hard to grip. And it's like, unless you have Dr. J's hands, remember how big those were? Unless you have those to be able to grip it and grip and rip, throw it, it's going to slip out of your hands. And so that's probably, unless they figure a way to be able to get a texture that the people can hold on to. And a lot of these NBA guys do have big hands. So many of them. They do now, but it's still slick. It's slicker than the NBA ball. But see, I brought up that Bird and Magic saved the NBA. I brought that up, and it is very true considering that they didn't even have any kind of until the '84 finals. They had tape delays for their finals, so they saved it that way. But Bird and Magic don't have a chance if they don't have the ABA-NBA merger. And it's like, you got to realize some of the things that they did is kind of like the NFL adopting the XFL things from 2001. Remember the above the field drone,
above the field camera view.
Yep, that all kind of stuff like that. They adopted those, something like that. They adopting the 3-point shot, adopting the kind of play that you see, because you'd see this. The ABA was fun.
Very fun to watch.
It was a lot of fun. See, the NBA was. You got to realize the NBA around the time the ABA was going around there, you had an aging Havlicek. I mean, there's no more Wilt.
Right.
Kareem's there, and he's 5 years in, but I'm like, they centers just played the way centers did. It wasn't like they were full-fledged. But it's like, it was very boring in comparison. It's very boring in comparison to the ABA. ABA had all those dunks. Remember the slam dunk contest? They tried
flashy dunks.
They tried doing an NBA slam dunk contest to counter it. It was the most boring thing alive.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA was considered boring. It also was considered, they fought all the time. They considered violent. Considered very racist with the league, with the fans. Considered all that stuff. The ABA brought in changes to where people didn't even pay attention. People by itself didn't pay attention that often anymore once the ABA came in. It just got used to everything. You just got it and you went. Bird and Magic do not have a chance to save the league if the ABA doesn't get some ideas, because if the ABA doesn't show up, Bird tries to do those plays, Magic tries to do those plays, they'll probably try to kick them both out of the league. Maybe not Bird, because remember there was a lot of racism, but they would try to get. But Bird would probably walk because he played the way he wanted to play.
Right.
But they would try to get him to stop being so flashy. Not when the ABA hit. That was the difference.
There was a difference, yes, absolutely. It's crazy because whenever we talk about, because there was Jordan and people would think, well, who's going to come after Jordan? Who's going to be the man? And then LeBron showed up. And then we're thinking like, well, who's going to be after him because he's in the twilight of his career. And then we're seeing guys like Luka, Ja, and Spider and all of them. And that's why, I'm grateful that the league will be in great hands after pretty much that draft class of 03, because Wade's already gone, Bosh is already gone, LeBron's, he's on his way out, and Melo's probably on his way out also, but with Bird and Magic coming along, and then you got that merger that happened and the ABA's flashy style of play, Bird and Magic were allowed to be themselves, just like Jacob said. But Will, what are your thoughts on the ABA-NBA merger?
It brought over so many good players. You think of Dr. J. You think of George McGinnis. You think of Dan Issel. Think of David Thompson. These guys were great. Dr. J. Everyone thinks, whenever people think of Dr. J, it is the free throw line dunk in the ABA dunk contest. David Thompson, big man. George Gervin, guy was flashy. Guy was really, really flashy. The ABA brought a lot of good things to a rather, I don't know if this is the right term, dying NBA where you couldn't do certain things that you could do in the ABA, like you said, fast pace of play, press and trap defense. They also adopted drafting underclassmen, the
Yes,
slam
they
dunk
did.
contest, 3-point
Call.
contest. So the ABA made the end when they merged with the NBA, it brought life to the NBA again.
Dom?
I was doing a little bit of research, and this was not something that I was aware of. Oscar Robertson, who was actually the head of the Players Association for the ABA when the merger came about, he sued the NBA in an antitrust lawsuit because he was worried about them trying to keep salaries low. And I did not know this. He filed it in 1970. It took them 6 years to settle that lawsuit, and it's also where the current free agency rules that they still use in the league today, that was how that came about.
Wow.
I feel sorry for, and we talked about this on previous shows. I feel like the fact that the NBA only took 4 teams, like that kind of left a lot of players and teams out in the cold. For example, the Spirit of St. Louis, they were one of the more successful and popular teams. And I mean, how many teams were in the ABA at the time of the merger? At least like close to 20, right? 16, 18 teams.
The Virginia Squires. You had the who else?
St. Louis, Spirit
St. Louis.
Carolina had it. Carolina Cougars?
Yep, they had a team.
Carolina
Miami Tropics, I believe.
Miami Tropics. Yep.
Yeah. Just the fact that they only took 4 teams was a little disheartening to me because, much like the way that whole league ran, ABA fans were crazy. They were rabid basketball fans, and they were out there enjoying, in some ways at the time, a superior product, at least a different, flashier, like we said, product. And like I said, it just kind of sucks that so many teams and so many players got left out in the cold, because when you're only adding 4 teams, what do you do with all those extra players? And a lot of them, because
never played again.
Right, yeah, and it's unfortunate, but it was definitely something that needed to happen. Like Will said, the NBA was definitely floundering at the time, and the merger was definitely a shot in the arm for what we now know as, today's NBA.
Well,
yeah.
Go ahead. I wanted to bring this part up too. The ABA was so ahead of its time for what it did. So ahead. Just like their open game. Like, let me give you Dr. J's first years in the ABA and his numbers. 27, his rookie year with Virginia Squires, 27-3 and 15.7 rebounds a game.
Woo!
15
then
boards,
the next
wow.
year, 31.9, 12.2 rebounds a game.
Dang.
Yeah, 27.4, 10.7 rebounds a game. 27.9, 10.9 a game. 29.3, 11 a game. Then they goes to Philly. Now listen to this part. This is before, these are 3 years. The 3 years before the Bird Magic show up and make it popular. You know what I mean? Make the game Flash go. This is before. 21.6 points a game, 8.5, 20.6, 6.5, 23.1, 7.2. The NBA was just a different, slowed down, boring game in comparison to the ABA. Then his 3 years before, then he got older. 26.9 a game, 26.9 a game, 24.6 a game, and 24.4 a game. One of those years he wins the title. But the thing is, the one thing I'll give Bird and Magic is the fact that they made a flashy, fun game, which allowed a guy like Dr. J to come one more time, because the Dr. J of the ABA was just as obvious unreal. Because those 3 years, not to say he wasn't good, but compared to 27-3 and 15 a game or 16 rebounds a game, compared 31.9 and 12 and all that good stuff, and then you have 21 and 8, 20 and 6. In comparison, it's a slowed down game.
Right.
The other thing that never happened, and I know there was talks about it, and it would have been great to see back then, before the merger happened, um, the ABA was pretty much calling out the NBA, and they wanted to have at least a game, if not a series, between the NBA champs and the ABA champs. And I think the reason
Yes.
that the NBA, I think the reason, I'm almost positive the reason that the NBA never agreed to it is because they were scared they'd get beat. And I think they probably would have by some of those young Dr. J teams.
Here's the thing. The only team that could have beaten an ABA team in those times is just very true is Boston.
Boston, that's it.
That's it. Boston was just John Wooden of its time. No matter if they made finals or not, they were just a top-notch team all the time. But they were the one that you can guarantee. Everybody else, you can't guarantee it.
Right. And shout out to Dr. J for staying loyal for all those years, because he could have gone to the NBA after a year or two in the ABA, but he believed in that product, and he was brand loyal and an ambassador to that league. By the time the merger finally happened, most of his best years were already behind him.
Well, Doc, the thing about Doc also, here's another thing. I brought this up 2-3 weeks ago, and you'll remember this, Will. I said it too. Doc and Pete Maravich played together for 2 games in a preseason with Atlanta.
Oh.
Remember we were talking about that. It's like the whole idea of it was that Doc's agent was also working with the Virginia Squires, his team. So basically, he's getting lowballed on every contract.
Right.
So he sues. We're having an issue. He decides to go to Atlanta himself. So he has 1 game with Pete. Then he was trying to get a second one. Then he had to go down because they had a court order to keep him out. Then he played a second. Then they completely shut it down for good. So they had to go back to the Squires. So I was bringing it up to Will one time, and it's like I was bringing that up, and it's like, could you imagine Maravich and Dr. J full time?
Wow.
Man, and the crazy part about it is Don brought up he remained loyal to the brand, and when they finally merged, he still won an NBA championship.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's crazy, But we are at the halfway point of our show, so everyone can pay attention to the bottom ticker. It says download Score No Score app via Apple or Android App Store. Jacob, you want to tell them a little bit about Score No Score?
Oh yeah. Well, one of the things about Score No Score is that someone brought it up perfectly. It is gambling for dummies.
That's this guy right here.
And it's it's gambling for dummies, and that would be Dom. Thank you very much. And what it is like if you decide you want to choose a baseball game, are they going to score this inning? They're not going to score this inning. You make a choice: score, no score. You do that; it makes it easier. You get free coins right off the bat. Then you see what you do with them. You might be able to keep going without having to pay, but then you pay. It's just having a little bit of fun. Sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's a competition. Depends on you.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. As it says on the bottom, you can go to your if you got an iPhone, you can go to the iPhone App Store, or if you have an Android, you can go to the Google Play Store or whatever it's called now, and download Score No Score. So the next segment that I wanted to touch on is another signature segment that kind of trying out here, and that's, as I said in the beginning, if you want to get into a time machine and go back and change a scenario, if you will. And this is the first, what if? So in the 1993 draft, the Golden State Warriors drafted Penny Hardaway, and the Orlando Magic drafted Chris Webber. They did an in-draft trade that sent Penny to Orlando and Webber to Golden State. But what if that trade never happened? What if Chris Webber stayed with Orlando and Penny remained with Golden State? How many championships does each team win in? How's each guy's career span out? Dom, let's start with you.
Wow, this is a great one. To be 100% honest, like, even though the trade worked out for both teams, I don't. Man, it's so hard to say because you think about how great and dynamic Penny and Shaq were together. But if you had Weber and Shaq on the same team, like that's a dominant front court right off rips. Plus, Weber played, he was more than just a big man, great passer, good shooter. Um, how does that, damn, that's tough. Um, I think overall, Weber probably ends up having, well, I don't know why I'm saying this. I almost said I forgot about the Sacramento years. That was the prime of his career.
That was his prime, yeah. But you know what? Here's an interesting question. Because if you had Penny remain with Golden State, and Jacob, feel free to answer this also on YouTube,
Sure.
bro. If you had him remain with Golden State, that puts him out there with Chris Mullin and Tim Hardaway. Now, Tim's already at the 1. So who do you move to the 2, and who do you keep at the 1? Who would you have
Right.
coming off the bench?
Yeah.
Who would you have starting?
Right.
Those are the things that people forget in these scenarios. They forget, like you brought that up. You forget all of this. It's like, what do you do? And remember, a lot of things that people bring up in like on Twitter, they bring up what if. They forget things like that. Who gets sat? Because how many minutes would they play? How do we know this would be the proper chemistry? See, the biggest thing I think of with the thing about the centers like Shaq is the fact that Chris Webber's he's all man. That dude's a big dude. This wasn't just a tall dude. This was a man, even at like 18. You got to wonder. Remember, he loved Penny, but Penny's right here. You know what I'm saying? As like in comparison to Shaq, but who isn't?
Mm-hmm.
But how much does he get along with Webber, considering the ego that he had with big guys?
Right.
The ego he had with big guys constantly. Okay, you know how much Webber loved taking the ball off the court. So did Shaq. How much ball movement would there have been? You got to remember, with the Penny, there's ball movement. There is ball movement. There is shooting, but there is all that. How much gets changed when you have two big men that want the ball? How much arguing in practice is there when you got two big men that want to be man? It's like the one thing about Penny, mind you, he loved Shaq loved Penny, but Penny's not going to. Let's just say this in the hypothetical statement. He's not fighting Shaq anytime soon.
No.
Right. Penny didn't mind being the sidekick.
He did not mind that at all. Hell, he made his own sidekick with Lil Penny, and he didn't mind any of that. And those were the things. Chris Webber, you got to realize he left after 1 year from Golden State, went to Washington.
1 or 2 years, yeah.
First year after that, he went to Washington.
He went to Washington, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
In the Mitch Richmond trade.
Yes, Mitch Richmond.
Because I was sitting there thinking about that, and I'm like, oh man, if they had Tim Hardaway and Penny and Webber and Richmond, and then I'm like, no, because they swapped in that trade.
Well, and you brought up an interesting point, Jacob, because you said Penny didn't mind being the sidekick.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Webber, essentially in that scenario, will be taking a step down because even though he's part of Fab Five, Webber was the man on that squad.
Yeah.
So he essentially would be taking a back seat. I'm going from 1 to number 2.
There would be some fighting. Because, like I said, one didn't mind being a sidekick, but I mean, it's like I said, you're not fighting against Shaq. I mean, it's just much smaller. Chris Webber was all man.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's like I would watch the thing with a wrestling interview. They talk about Kevin Nash talking about Billy Gunn being all man, they call it brick-handed MFer. You know what I mean? And it's like this is Kevin Nash, who's 6'11" and a quarter at his prime, maybe 7 foot. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he's saying that about Billy Gunn. That means you're a man. When you have that, it's like, so yeah, there's going to be jealousy from there right now with Shaq and Webber right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. And Will, let's swing it over to you. But before you answer and give us your thoughts, I got a question for you. If Penny would have stayed with Golden State, you would have had Penny, Tim Hardaway, and Chris Mullin. Would that have been the NBA's first big three?
Potentially, you may have to move Mullen to the 3. I know he's not that tall, but maybe.
Shout out to Chris Mullin for having the same haircut for as long as I've been alive.
Yes. Anyway, even though I do agree with Jacob, there would be friction between Weber, who would have to take a backseat, and Shaq, I could see him winning 1 or 2 titles together.
Okay.
I like it. I like it.
Because you got a good shooter as a role player with Dennis Scott, and then you got Nick Anderson. So I think 1 or 2 titles.
And Scott
Penny
Turner.
on the other hand, maybe 1.
So he might win one with Golden State.
I think so because you got a good shooter like Mullen, you got Tim Hardaway, and then you got Penny. So I can see them winning 1 title.
That's fair. Go ahead, Jacob.
And asking about the big threes, I mean, maybe the first big three developed, we could say, but there's always, let's go back to always the big threes. Magic, Worthy, Kareem, Bird, Mikhail Parrish, and hell, before that, Bird Cowens and Tiny, everything like that. Then you had Jay, Moses, and Cheeks.
Mm-hmm.
You had. But see, and it's like you could just keep developing and developing. It's like I said, maybe you develop from the agency, the big three, but always a big three, and those are the ones winning all the time.
Go ahead, Will.
So how many titles would you guys have them winning?
I think if Chris Webber had stayed in Orlando in that 95 finals, I think the Rockets still win it, but instead of it being 4-0, it'd be 4-2. They would have gotten 2 on us.
I got 0. I got 0. I still do. It's like everything it takes, even if you're getting, whether you get along or not, you don't have to go to Thanksgiving dinner all the time. You got to have a specific level of chemistry.
That's why I said 1 or 2, mainly 1 for each.
And I get what you mean. As I said, but you got to have a chemistry. You got to have that. And it's like, have the fights all the time. I mean, Shaq is the nicest guy in the world now. That's why he's getting every ad ever. He's the nicest guy in the world. He's paying everybody's layaway off. He's paying for cars. He's the nicest guy in the world now. But he was a major league jerk for a long time.
Yes, he was. And that's not to say that Shaq wouldn't get along with other big men on the squad because he had Horace Grant at one point.
Yeah, but that's not a big. Horace Grant was a big guy. I mean, it's obvious was a big guy, but here's the thing: Webber was bigger than people think. Just the shoulders and the way he moved.
Webber was actually built.
Yeah. Well, the thing about people have to realize when Magic was gone a year earlier than Bird, those two escaped. Those two truly escaped because you got to realize when Bird was playing in his last year, his back was going out. It was gone. He had played 45 games.
He got injured. We saw his end coming. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing. The year after Bird goes, and that's the last of everything, here comes Shaq, 7'1", 325 pounds, dribbling down the court and making passes and starting fast breaks. Mm-hmm. And then there's Webber doing that. It's like those two flat out escaped. And I'm not saying that they weren't the greatest of all time, but the game was changing.
It was. It absolutely was changing, But but you know what? That could be another what if for another time. Like, what if Magic had not caught HIV? How much longer would he have been in the pros? I think he would have had maybe 2-3 years.
His knees were going. He missed 3 games of the Dream Team. His knees would have gone out.
Yeah. So Magic was on his way out the door anyway when he made that announcement. So it's a fair assessment. When Shaq and them came along, Bird and Magic, their time was up anyway.
Yeah.
It was highly regarded that when the Bulls won their first championship, that marked the end of Showtime. The Bulls ended Showtime. Literally. Yeah.
Well,
they ended Showtime.
No, sir. That was the Pistons. But go nuts.
Well, but Dom's correct because here's the thing. Yeah. Showtime is not Showtime with Tony Campbell. You got with Tony Campbell on the team. You're right, Dom, because it's the exact. They ended up with the way we remember. But when you have Tony Campbell on the team, you have all those. That's not no.
Yeah. But I say that because, and yes, Dom in theory is correct. But I say that because they last faced the Bulls.
Oh yeah, they did get back to one more, but that wasn't.
They last faced the Bulls, but to your point, Dom. They were the Showtime Lakers, but they weren't the ones that we had known.
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and say that. Okay, Jacob, is it fair to say that they limped to the finals?
Is they what?
Is it fair to say that Lakers team limped to the finals to face Jordan?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It kind of reminded me of '87 when
I always forget about that series. Then I go back and look, and I'm like, oh, that old ass Lakers team.
Exactly. So that's why Dom is.
Chicago, I'll give them credit. They put the nail in the coffin.
They did, but the last good Lakers team, Dom is right. For Showtime, it was the Pistons.
No, the ones that limped to the finals reminded me of the Celtics in '87. It truly did. It's like when they stole a series away, and I'll say that to Dom. They stole that series from the Detroit, all because of Bird being thrown the wrong way and able to sneak behind. That's all the thing was. He stole that thing, and then he stole it from Milwaukee after an amazing Game 7. That's all the deal was.
Right.
And the thing was, they stole that, and that's what the Lakers did. They limped. And then you have bad knees by Magic, and and remember, he missed 3 games of, like I said, of Dream Team. Yeah, it's like by itself, that was limping to the finals, and Magic's an all-time great, so it was going to happen, but still.
Magic got hurt in the first Bad Boys title. He got hurt in that NBA Finals as well.
He did, absolutely. But moving on, we're gonna go on to the next segment here, and that is the round 2 just started. So we'll just do a quick playoffs segment. Let's see. Earlier, just today, the Bucks in my opinion, shocked the Celtics and won decisively in Boston in Game 1. And then I don't know if you guys saw an absolute Game 1 thriller out in Memphis. Morant was stopped right at the goal at the last second, and Golden State escaped 117-116. But we'll start off with Will. Will, what you thought so far on the second round?
Do you want us to give our predictions too?
Oh, well, just your thoughts. Give me predictions. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was shocked about Boston losing too, especially that Milwaukee is missing Chris Middleton, but they still have Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that will be a good series. And then the next game, like you said, it was a thriller. Draymond Green got ejected in the second quarter for a flagrant 2. Jordan Poole had 31 points off the bench for the Warriors. Steph played great. Clay played great. For the I think my favorite matchup for this round of the playoffs, even though Suns Mavericks is a really good one, the one I'm mainly focusing on is Warriors Grizzlies, and I do think the Warriors will win that series in 6 games.
Nice. Dom?
I don't even know what to say about that that Bucks Celtics game today because I don't see either one of these teams being the Eastern Conference representative in the NBA Finals. Like I don't see you didn't see it today, but Middleton being out for the rest of the playoffs is huge because that's their number 2. Drew Holiday's good, but
you're missing a 3-point shooter.
Yeah, they're hurting without Middleton. But by the same token, I'm far from sold on the Celtics as well. Granted, their ascension started when they finally got healthy. It kind of went. The Bucks went, or not the Bucks. The Celtics went here, and then the Bulls fell because they had all sorts of injury problems. That should be a good series. It's good to see the matchup now, but I thought we would maybe see the Grizzlies and the Warriors like in the conference finals. So to see it happening in the second round should be a great series, and I'm excited about it. I think that probably goes 7 games.
Jacob?
Thinking about for what you were bringing up with Milwaukee for a second, I'm kind of laughing at Kendrick Perkins' big ol' ass right now because he's the one that last year brought up how Chris Middleton was the Batman and Giannis was the Robin, which if I could reach him, I'd want to smack him. But still, nah. The biggest problem with something like that is this is the thing, and let's go back to another point. Stephen A. Smith keeps saying, "I don't want to go to the point that Giannis is the best in the league." Blah blah blah. He doesn't want to bring that up because he doesn't want Budenholzer to win another title. He does not want Budenholzer to win another title. And
He
it's like
wanted him
the
gone last year.
is out of the. You got to remember this about Stephen A. Smith. He plays it personal all the time, and he is. The thing is, the minute Budenholzer's gone, for some reason, Budenholzer and Coach Bud rubs him wrong. It rubs a lot of people wrong, including the stupid Bucks fans. It's like just the thing is, if Bud's out of the way, he's going to call Giannis the best in the league because he kind of flips like that. So. But the thing about it is the fact, to me, this is not a shock no matter what. The Celtics are one step above the Bulls as far as we're moving. We're coming. You remember what I was? You got to remember, they were a 500 team with Brad Stevens last year. You get Ime Udoka. Great man. I love the pick. Great mind. Great, good coach. I like it. But you get Ime Udoka. You get those. And you get the issues like this, but the thing is, it's one step above the Bulls. As in, you got to get more things for the Bulls. You got to get more players and get more chemistry for the Bulls to get there. The Celtics are, but you got to remember, the Bucks are the champions. They are the defending champs, no matter what there is. So there's always a lot of shock to the Bucks continuing to go on because there's a lot of negativity toward Bud, which I cannot stand because the man was a great coach before all this.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah, I absolutely. Sometimes with pundits, it's like they will let their disdain for one player or the coach affect how they view the whole team. I went through it with James Harden. Even though the Rockets were one of the best teams in the NBA, people were saying the Rockets were trash because they hated James Harden, but they weren't watching. And that's not understanding. Not saying y'all weren't watching the games or anything. Deep down, you knew he was good. It's just, if you don't like the man, fine, But that's not talking about the Rockets at the time period like they were the Kings or something like that, or the Hawks before they made their ascent. Me personally, I am intrigued as far as the playoffs. I'm intrigued at the Dallas. Probably my favorite series would be Bucks Celtics, but I'm intrigued at Dallas and Phoenix.
That's my favorite series too.
Because
That's a good one.
That's
my second favorite.
This is going to be Paul's time. And right now, and I know a year ago and maybe 2 years ago, we were saying that all Dallas has is Luka. I think Dallas is a little bit more dangerous than people think because Jaden Brunson, but you had Tim Hardaway Jr., then you got Jalen Brunson going off. So Dallas has a squad now. If in the event they manage to, go ahead, Will.
Don't forget Dom's boy.
The mayor.
The mayor. The mayor.
I almost wore that today.
And if by some miraculous bolt of lightning Dallas gets past the Suns, imagine the outcry. Like the Mavs are back. Like what?
2011 Mavs.
Right, but I don't think that people will give them their flowers just yet because if Golden State comes out of this series, they would have to get past Golden State. But if Memphis wins the series and Dallas wins, they'll give Dallas their flowers. Because as of right now in the West, the standard is still Golden State. Even though Phoenix has been number one for 2 years in a row. Even though they got Ayton out there putting up numbers. Even though Chris Paul is still a top 5 point guard at age 42 or however old he is. Even though, you got D Book, and when he comes back, he's going to be showing out. The standard is still Golden State. So I actually am intrigued by that series. Me personally, I have the Suns in 6 games, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went a 7th.
Well, I'll tell you.
I agree with that series. Jay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Will.
No, I was just saying I agree with Jay's assessment on this series.
No, I'll tell you this. Bring this thing up with Memphis for a second. I love this series with Minnesota, and they had some other side of like one game. There's some exciting games. Yeah. There's just a great thing. We're gonna have a great one with Golden State. If they play Dallas, oh my God, that type of deal. Memphis is setting up to be a ratings boon. As far as the next few years, if they stay good, if they stay great, there could be a ratings boon because they're fun. Just like Minnesota was fun for the year. They need fun teams. We got all these. You have all. It's like when we bring up at the NFL. Just a minor thing for a second. Arizona is a pretty high ratings team, is because no matter what you do with Kyler and everything, that's a high octane offense.
Right.
And it's like, and they get high, and then everything like that. And then I bring up my Bears, who they always blow the rate. But, and I love them, but that's the truth. That's the same thing. This is 53% of kids in this 53% of kids in this era watch sports like we do now, and it's going to get lower. This is why you had Nickelodeon with the NFL playoffs, where you have Nickelodeon or the Disney with NBA.
Which I thought was really creative.
That was fun. I
Yes.
watched every game that was
actually
available
liked
on Nickelodeon. I watched it because it was fun.
I hated it at first. I did it first. I'm for it now. I hated it at first because I'm like, I didn't know that so few kids watched it like that. My buddy of mine had to tell me that.
Dude, I'll tell you this much, because if I'm not mistaken, one of the games was the playoff game. It was your Bears at the Saints. It was on Nickelodeon. And when I watched it, I switched channels, and me and Dom were in the old sports group at the time period. And I switched to the channel, and I'm watching it, and I'm just like, dude, how come this wasn't around when I was 8 years old?
Yeah.
Because at the time, I was watching football, of course. Then I was watching Nickelodeon, of course. I was like, why wasn't this around when I was 8 years old? Dude, I'd have been locked all the way in.
No.
Oh, same.
And I have to I'm sorry. Well, I'll say this real quick. Here's the deal. I was locked in on sports and a rare thing by 6 years old. So that was me. But I'm also rare. I was spelling by 4 years old. I'm not calling it a genius. That's just my little savant deal. I was getting that. Not everybody's going to be that. So then finding out that so few people are going to watch. They're going to watch in that level. And now you got TikTok and YouTube. You got to get these kids in now. And
Yes,
you can go
you
on.
do.
Well, I apologize.
Nope. I was agreeing with Jay. I wish they had it when I was a kid too. And yeah, it's getting kids hooked on football and getting kids locked in on the TV and saying, I want to do that.
Yeah, I feel like it's an easier transition because all of us came up the old way, and that is our knowledge of football came with sitting with our predecessors, our dads, our uncles, and whatnot, and sitting there just asking questions, the TV that we watch right now. But nowadays, with these kids that are like 6 and 7 years old that's interested in football, and you get them the little Nickelodeon effects and everything, they're going to be more inclined to tune in now. Now you're going to have more of these. They're going to school the next day or whatever. Like, oh, did you see this game? And when the slime hit the player at the end zone and everything, like, I love it. I'm 100% behind it. And I'll go as far as saying, once again, I wish it was around when I was a kid.
I wish it was around the whole year.
Yeah, they should make it a regular thing,
Imagine a Super
It's probably
Bowl
going to
with
be. I say 5 to 10 more years it will be. There will be one game a week on Nickelodeon, but I wouldn't have watched because I was already absorbing the old time. So I wouldn't have watched myself. So I know me. But I have to also put into the play that that's an ego thing I have to remember for myself. That's an ego deal. More people, you got to get, it's more than me. And if it's just a me or just somebody else or a few others, it goes out of business. Right. So you got to get with it. I mean, guess what? These kids now are getting into that. They're getting into what makes it fun. And you have to do these. Now, I'm for Nickelodeon now. I'll admit I hated it. I'm never going to lie about that. But I'm for it now because I see how it's bringing kids in. 33 million watched the Bears and Saints, and it was the most boring game on earth.
Yeah. You know
what would have been cool is, I don't remember what year this was. It was UNC versus Michigan State on an aircraft carrier. Imagine an NBA game on an aircraft carrier. How many views? Do little nitpicks like this. Like, I don't know if it's just me, in my opinion, I like when they switch the commentators. NBA commentators go to the NCAA, NCAA goes to the NBA. Bill Walton was calling a Cavaliers game a few years ago, and I was like, dude, what is this? This is awesome. It'll keep people more, it'll keep bringing in new ideas, and it'll keep the sport, bring more people to sport and more minds.
And keep it more relevant, and especially nowadays, because you would have more adults tuning in, and hear me out on this one, and that's because people love nostalgia. They love to remember. You know, so when you see the big slime come down on a player and everything and all these effects, it's like, oh man, I remember when I was a kid, I used to love all that. You know what I mean? It's not sitting there saying they're gonna watch every game. Every now and again, you'll get an adult that'll peep it and be like, this is great. Like I could, have my son come watch this, or I could have my nephew come over and watch this, and they could tune in. I mean, I haven't watched Nickelodeon in ages, obviously, but when you get the games like that, and they're bringing in stuff that I remember and the stuff that Will would remember, or Don would remember, or Jacob would remember. People love nostalgia, and I'm willing to bet you that is one of the factors of why they implemented that.
Can
But we
I
all know.
say something real
Oh,
quick?
go ahead, man.
I really liked, I don't know if you guys caught it this year, when the NBA did that ABC throwback night where the guys are wearing the gold jackets and it was the Nets versus the Knicks, and they played it in black and white on
I was just
ESPN.
about to say they did a Pistons game, a Pistons and Sixers game like that in like 2004. And the first quarter was in black and white. There was no scoreboard on the screen. And then like the second quarter or the third quarter, they went to like Technicolor where everything was super bright. It looked like freaking Wizard of Oz. They
Oh
should do
man.
stuff like that more
I
often. It was so cool.
idea. Speaking of New York, one awesome idea they could really do. I hope someone listens one day. The Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks in Rucker Park.
Yes.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That would be great. That would be awesome.
No. And street rules. You got to have fouls, but it's got to be, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to knock down, but it has to be a certain level of street rules.
Yeah, it does. And it would especially be great because you remember when Kevin Durant went to the Rucker and played a street ball game?
Did
This
he
would be
drop
his
60
return to the
something?
Rucker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did. He did, absolutely. But we're within the final 5 minutes of the show. I just want to do this last segment really quick, and that is Dom, you're gonna love this one.
Yeah.
Retro Hoops video game, Bulls versus Blazers on the SNES and Genesis. So a quick rundown. This was the first game to feature the EA Sports logo. It also was the first NBA game to feature entire rosters for each team. And each team superstar had marquee moves where you had to be in a certain situation and like certain location on the court, you had to hit the A button. But examples would be MJ's free throw dunk, Bird's turnaround fadeaway, Magic Johnson's no-look pass, my personal favorite, and Sean Kemp's off-the-glass dunk. So going around the horn, we'll start off. Dom, tell us about this game and how it affected you.
I was so excited about that game because the previous ones, I'm pretty sure the one before that was Celtics versus Lakers.
Yes,
and
it
it
was.
only you had the Celtics and the Lakers. I was so geeked. Like I can remember, I don't think I got it like the day it came out, but I remember hearing about it ahead of time and I was like, oh my God, it's got the Miami Heat. I can play with Glenn Rice. I would go out there for a whole game and just jack up 73s and see how many I could make. I loved that game. And that's where Bulls versus Blazers is what eventually became NBA Live. And that's my by far favorite NBA basketball game on any console.
Period.
It was the greatest.
I came from Bird versus Dr. J and Bird versus Jordan, where someone dunked and you had to clean it up and the janitor cleans it up.
It was great.
And I was a long slog, and it was so beautiful to play. I loved it. But then I played Bulls Blazers, and it's like you talked about the fadeaway by Bird, and boy, that's all I could use because by that point he was so slow you couldn't drive a lane, you couldn't do anything. He's so slow at that point. But I used that fadeaway to death. But I used that fadeaway to death, and of course I used the I'll tell you this about me with video games in the time. I won video games, I played them, but it was one of those deals where everybody at school would be talking about like what's in the magazine, the cheat codes or whatever. I never used them because I'm always so competitive. So I never used them. So if I did like the fadeaway, if I did the dunk from the free throw line, I caught it on accident. Then I figured it out. I never looked, so I'm way last. I get the game done 6 months after everybody else. So But no, it was a really nice game, EA. It was way ahead of its time as far as its own graphics because you're literally a couple of years from like John Elway's football, which is awful.
Yeah,
which was horrible, and then it was basically one step off Atari.
Yeah, basically,
So,
and you mentioned it was ahead of its time. Even for that time period, the moves were so crisp because one of those had Jordan's air reverse, and it was on point.
Yes.
Like he went from baseline, he switched hands and laid it up, and then you had, like I said, Kemp's dunk. You had Barkley's gorilla slam. You had Dominique's reverse slam. Dude, that game was revolutionary. And like you said, Dom, it was a predecessor to NBA Live. But Will, I know this was a little bit before your time, but if you got any thoughts, you're basically going to end the show.
So I didn't play that game. It was before my time, but I want to say the first basketball game I ever played, I'll bring that up, was NBA 2K5 with Big Ben Wallace on the cover for Xbox.
Oh,
And
Dom, I know you know about that.
that game
I hate
was
the
fun.
2K franchise
But,
because it spelled an end to live.
But yeah, it was my first game, and yeah, I've played. I forgot what game. My brother is a retro N64 we have at the house. He lives somewhere else. It's an old NBA game, but I forgot what year it was. I'll have to let you guys know. But yeah, I will definitely have to check that game out on
If
YouTube.
you, check it out on YouTube, and then
I was
also
gonna say now I want to go watch
emulators.
on YouTube.
They have emulators out there, so
Yeah,
if you
they
want
do.
to check it out as well, but yeah, we're over the time limit, guys. We're at an hour and 2 minutes. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Basket Bros. Quick shout out to our girl Megan Price, Kerry Johnson, and Jennifer Matthews Lewis. Check out Three Chicks in a Pod. Also, check out Pundits Pundit with Jacob Christner and Jennifer Matthews Lewis. It's on you, Jacob. Go ahead, man.
yeah. Thursday nights, the 9:15 over on Sideline Sports. It's me and Jennifer. It's Jennifer and I. And just in case there's times, I did find out that just in case there's times I don't have her, I got Jay also. So it's like we're a pretty good set, and I'm very proud. I'm also on Sunday nights. I'm also with Megan Price's Gauntlet, which I'm proud of. Who knows what team I'm to in this coming thing since Minnesota's out. And stuff like that. Tuesday, I'm confidential. And then Thursday, like I said, Pundit's Pundit, and we keep going from there.
All right. Will, go ahead, brother.
Monday nights, NBA Carousel. Thursday nights, Sip Off. Saturday nights, making appearances on the Gauntlet. Sunday nights here on Basket Bros.
All right. Dom, go ahead.
The water was really warm. Monday nights, you got Megan Price's NBA Carousel. Thursday nights, usually more so lurking in the comments in a drunken stupor on the Sip Off. Love the Sip Off. Saturday nights, of course, myself, Jay, James when he comes back off hiatus, and our new co-host, JJ Jenkins, the Gauntlet. That's at 7 p.m. Probably going to take a break from my Lions podcast on Thursdays because I'm just burnt out. We did about 17 or 18 hours of streaming for the NFL draft, and my brain is just absolute mush. But I will say, my co-host, Jeremy, the first round was like impossible to predict. But in the second round, he got, I believe, 28 or 29 out of 32 picks correct.
Dang.
Nice.
Like doing nothing, and somebody's like, "Oh, you're seeing the picks on Twitter." He went like five picks straight, just holding up his phone at the screen, so people, because they're like, there's no way. Like, how are you doing this? He's like, I'm just looking at the big board and assessing team needs. It's crazy. The dude, he's like Punxsutawney Phil of the NFL draft.
Pretty
Just
much.
drop him.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to Sideline Sports' 4 school principals: Eric Wilson, JB Ellis, Jake Malik, and John Shearer.
Especially with me.
Yeah. But tune in to Sideline Sports, everybody, and get a load of us next week. We are Basket Bros. Later.
Good night.